Hey everyone, this is Robert, and thank you for tuning into the podcast. Today we have another special guest in the corner. I'm just gonna cut right to this. We have Mr. Philip Ray. I'm bad with last names. It's kind of a running joke
Guevara,
around, but
Guevara, Phillip Ray
Guevara.
Guevara.
Phil. We have Phil here. But
Thanks
yeah,
for
thank
having
you for
me.
being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, let's just get right to this. First off, I hope everybody's staying cool from this heat wave as we were just talking about it, like before we actually started recording. Yeah, we be having crazy weather, man. Like one moment we're having blizzards and then it was raining for like nonstop for like these last several months. Um, we've had the most amount of rain in like years, and now it's like, oh, okay, now it's time for a heat wave. Yay.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, I'm
yeah,
coming
but
from Portland, so it's just consistently wet and cold here. So
I mean, it is a good thing. I mean, we won't be complaining of any droughts, like, knock on wood. Yeah. But anyways, enough about the weather. You're here, so let's talk about yourself. Yeah. So I guess you could just give a quick little rundown of we know you're an actor, but where have people heard you on? Where have we seen you? And, all that good jazz. Like, just to start off this little bit of an introduction, so to speak.
yeah, right on. So my name's Phillip Ray Guevara. I'm a professional actor. You might have seen me in Somebody I Used to Know on Amazon Prime, now streaming. That's the largest feature film that I've done. You might have also seen me in commercials for companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks. I have a new Pokemon ad dropping soon. Uh,
Eh,
Kaiser Permanente, Primera Blue Cross, Oregon Health Plan, uh, Brooks Running, Ultra Running, Trellex, just to name a few.
yeah, right on, man. So I guess we'll discuss about those when we get to them, but for now, I'm just kind of curious. Like, was acting kind of like something that you've always done? Did you have like other like career aspirations that you wanted to do? Yeah, so what's your little like I guess origin story of, your whole little acting career,
Yeah,
so to
well,
speak.
yeah, well,
Journey.
so I was born and raised in San Antonio, and big Spurs fan. Go Spurs! Actually, have the water
Oh,
bottle right
nice.
here. I
Oh,
I
yeah.
did.
Stay
What
hydrated. Totally not
I,
sponsored.
I
But
did
oh,
acting in high school, but I was also I was also an athlete, so I did it's like football first, and then acting I sort of picked up junior and senior year, but it was more of like a fun thing to do with friends. But I also realized that I had more in common with that group, and those are the friends that I kind of stuck to after high school, and those are the people that I kept in touch with more so moving throughout life. And I went to community college for a couple of years, basically got all of my basics out of the way. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do yet. And when I transferred to Texas State, probably 2007, I started studying kinesiology and then switched to an education major and then a biology major before I eventually landed on acting. And the inciting incident, I guess you could say, was my high school sweetheart. Dumped me because I just wasn't really going anywhere in my life. I wasn't really committed to anything, or like I didn't have a vision. And so that kind of jolted my system into thinking like, well, who am I? Like it's always been me. And so trying to figure that out, I just happened to take some acting classes at Texas State, which was a wonderful program going through some wonderful changes at the time. And I just got super lucky being there at the right time. And then I auditioned for the BFA acting program. At the time, it was a 2 year program. Now it's a 4 year program. And that I got in, I kept getting more opportunities through that. When I graduated, I immediately was hired as an acting intern at Cincinnati Playhouse in the Park, which is a major Tony Award winning regional theater. And so I got to see how a regional theater is run throughout the course of its entire season. And that time was invaluable, just getting to observe professionals, being an ensemble member in the main stage shows and also participating in touring educational theater and working at the box office, hosting events. It was really great to see the examples of what to do and also what not to do as a professional actor. So in 2013, when I was done with that, I moved to New York to live with friends from college, and we were all convinced that we were going to create a theater company and be the next big thing. And very quickly, I realized that the people I was living with were content to make a lot of money at the restaurant job and spend it on fun things. And I did not have that consistent source of income, and I honestly was okay with being broke and just making my art. And so there was a little bit of conflict of interest there, and I knew that that wasn't going to be a long-term solution for me. So while I was in New York, I started thinking, well, I've always been passionate about teaching, so I'll look into grad schools. Did these auditions called Unified Residential Theater auditions. And I thought, okay, if I get one or two callbacks, I'll do my research on all the schools that are there. If anybody's interested, I'll take that as a sign. I got 12 callbacks from programs that were present at the day, and started attending these meetings. And two schools flew me out to the West Coast. It was the University of California, Irvine, and the University of Washington, which is where I eventually landed. And yeah, that was my honorable discharge from New York City. Because like I said, I knew that the situation that I had wasn't really tenable long term. And I got a wonderful education. I got my MFA at the University of Washington, and that showcase in LA got me meetings with major network executives and got me meetings with agents, and all these wonderful things are starting to click. And so my wife and I got married in 2019 and then moved to LA in January of 2020. And 2 months later, the world ended. So my wife being pregnant with our first child, we decided to tactically retreat from LA back to Portland to be with her family. And then, those first 6 months went by. Everybody was kind of having a hard time. But when things started to open back up, we got busy quick, and we haven't stopped working since, which is a real blessing. So it's so weird how that works out. If I had stayed in LA during that time, there's no guarantee I would have done anything. But I do a lot of commercials, a lot of industrials up in Seattle and in Portland too. I have an agent that represents me out of Seattle. And so that's where I'm at now. I got to do my first feature film with Allison Brie and Dave Franco and everybody else in that cast, who's not only tremendously talented and good looking, but exceptionally kind and generous. And yeah, I'm teaching now at various places in and around Portland, and I'm kind of looking for the next step. So that is me in a nutshell, my acting career.
Yeah, right on, man. So, I wanted to ask you, like, since you mentioned working with, the actors that you've just, name dropped before, who would you say were like very instrumental or like uh who would you say that really helped you out? Like, I know you mentioned your wife, but who would you also wanted to um mention that really helped you in your career thus far?
Well, I wouldn't be acting if not for Laura Lane. Um, Laura Lane was a is a professor at Texas State University. She's from. Did you ever watch The Nanny on
Oh yeah.
Nick at Night? Yeah,
Yeah.
so she plays Cece Babcock, and she had a wonderful career in LA. Decided to teach later in life, and that's when I met her in 2009, 2010. And I was sort of on the fence about it. Like I said, I had just gone through all these changes in life and was looking for my next thing. And she actually, like, metaphorically pulled me by my ear and said, "You need to be acting." And so she gave me the confidence to really pursue it. And between her and Michael Costello at Texas State University, they were hugely influential early on. And then, at UW, I met Kathy Madden, who's master at Alexander. Did you say something?
Oh, it's like kicking me. Okay. Sorry about that. Continue.
It's all good. Kathy Madden at UW was another huge influence for me. She teaches Alexander technique, and that is something that not only my wife is very passionate about and continues her training on, but it's been something that's hugely beneficial for my work. Yeah. Yeah, those are the people that come immediately to my mind when I think about like big influences on my career. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really cool. Yeah, I remember Nanny. That was a while. Yeah, that does take me back.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it really does. I was just talking to somebody about like whenever I talk with them about like, their like, what they've done and like the highlights of their career, we would just kind of like bring up a TV show that we watched that came on like TV Land or Nick at Night from like the 80s or 90s, even going way back in the 50s or 60s. And then we would just kind of gush about like old classic television. It's really funny. But it's really good though, because like, we're just all nerds and we like, you know, we just really love the work that we do and we just love TV and movies and media in general. So I just wanted to ask you, what were some of the like what did you uh like when it comes to TV, movies, and just anything in general, what was the media that you've consumed and that you're still, getting into to this very day?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. I think um the earliest memories I have of like TV, like my parents sitting me down and watching TV would be like Happy Days. And I was just
Happy
having coffee
days,
with somebody,
man.
and I was talking we were talking about musical theater. I don't remember why, but we were talking about his introduction was through his mother, and the musicals that she witnessed living in New York in the 40s and all the way through 66, I think was the time frame that he gave. And so I started thinking like, what were my influences? And like, probably like Sound of Music and like Seven Brides and Seven Brothers and West Side Story. These big spectacle musicals were always a part of my childhood. My parents always loved watching movies. We've always been cinephiles in my family. So yeah, but like other TV, like obviously Nickelodeon. I was born in '87, so I'm a '90s kid. So Nickelodeon was obviously huge for me. MTV, um, yeah, I mean, probably like Family Guy was like my big thing growing up, but later in life, I think shows like The Office, Parks and Rec, that mockumentary style started having an influence on the kind of art that I wanted to be making. That uh, true to life naturalism that you see on screen, and it's almost like we're privileged to be a part of these characters' life. Like just seeing something as simple as a camera lens through the leaves on a plant inside the office, and they're so far away and you can kind of hear them whispering. Like there's just something really privileged about getting to be a part of what's going on in their lives today. And I continue to seek out stuff like that. I think it's endlessly fascinating. um, yeah, and then like modern day stuff like Hamilton and stuff that everybody loves. That's totally cliche to say, but
That
it's
really
like,
blew
we love this
that
stuff for a reason. It's like
that really it really blew up in 2020
yeah, yeah, oh
during the
yeah,
height of
right.
the pandemic.
But also something that's really been a through line is for me at an early age, I knew that I loved reading and performing Shakespeare, and thinking about movies. I was just watching. I watched Elvis the other day, and so Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet back in the day with Leo and Claire Danes, who I've met. Claire Danes is a lovely, lovely person, and I think that was like I saw Shakespeare for the first time as something that was modern and immediate and relevant. And so that kind of started me on this whole path that I'm on. Now I teach beat analysis for the actor in classical text at the Actors Conservatory in Portland. And I've also studied abroad with the Royal Shakespeare Company. I've done a lot of off Broadway and regional theater and local theater that is Shakespeare. So I definitely plan to do more of that as I age into different tiers of characters in Shakespeare's canon.
Yeah, that is amazing. So yeah, there's like so much that I could to go off of that. And I am just like, because usually how I do these is like I have a set of questions that I want to ask, but then like somebody mentions something interesting, and then I just kind of derail into that little
Yeah, you gotta go with the
trivia.
flow.
It's kind of, yeah, going with the flow. This is literally off the cuff.
Cool,
That's
man.
what I literally do instead of just like, okay, so what is this? What da, 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 going through like having
It'd
to do
be,
like the men. I mean, like it's best to go off the cuff.
yeah, it wouldn't be
That's
very quality content if everything sounded the same, you know? So you
Yeah,
gotta,
it's like so
yeah.
what is the color of, I don't know, this grass or what?
What's your favorite color? Yeah, that's always a good
What's my
answer.
favorite color? Yeah, totally. I want to be fun and interesting, so I mean at least I'm doing my job right, you know?
That's right.
So yeah, so what I'm also kind of curious because you said that you were from San Antonio, correct?
Yeah, born and raised.
Okay, so how was the move like when you moved from San Antonio and then you made the, I guess, transition or move to Portland and Seattle, you know?
Yeah. So yeah, I lived in San Antonio the first, let me do the math on this. I graduated in 2012 from Texas State. So the first 25 years of my life, I lived in San Antonio, Texas, or San Marcos, Texas, which is only 30 minutes north. Um, and then 30 minutes north of that is Austin. But as I understand, the line between Austin and San Marcos has been blurred. There's so much explosion and development happening there. It's tremendous. But so my first place outside of that central Texas hill country was living in Cincinnati, actually. So I went to the Midwest for that internship. Well, that was a huge shock for me. Um, Not just the weather, which was tremendously different. Anybody in the Midwest will tell you their winters are brutal, but also just culturally, like the idea that like Cincinnati is it's just got pockets of tremendous wealth, and it also has pockets of severe poverty. So like I tell this joke, and I don't know if I don't know, but I would literally, it's not a joke, it's an anecdote, it's true to life. I would be outside jogging back when I ran consistently before kids, and I would be, just going from neighborhood to neighborhood, and one minute I'm getting looks like, who's this guy, right? And I'm like, okay, run a little bit faster. And then the next block or two, I'm like, jeez, I gotta go faster. You know what I mean? Like it's such a randomly laid out city. I feel like that the wealth is just very weirdly dispersed. And I was fortunate enough that I lived in a nice enough area that I felt comfortable and I felt supported and I felt was accessible to the theater. Which just, I really spent my entire time at that theater. So I mean, I was working like 60, 70-hour work weeks. I mean, I was there from sun up to sundown. So I don't remember how I got off on that. We're talking about moving away from San Antonio. So San Antonio to Cincinnati and then to New York, which you want to talk about a culture shock. I mean, I think, advice that I give actors is like, if you're going to move to New York or LA or, really anywhere, the first year that you're there, you're just trying to get your feet under you. You're just trying to realize like, okay, looking at the MTA maps and like trying to decipher this foreign language, and then like understanding what you can and cannot do on the streets, and like how the traffic wants to flow, and like how you can get consistently to places, and also just like how to spend your money, how to make your money, how to actually meet people, where to go. It's a lot anywhere, but for New York City, it just felt so much more amplified. So yeah, I just, that first year was just trying to get my feet under me. And then I had always told myself going in, I said, I'm going to give myself a minimum of 3 years. And if I don't love it, I'm out. And so like 3 years almost to the day I got out because I knew it wasn't for me. Um, and then like I went straight to Seattle. Seattle's where I got my grad school, a graduate degree. And then I came down to Portland, down to LA, back to Portland. That's like my complete trajectory. But I did not expect to love LA as much as I did. And I'm curious to get back. I'll say that. Even if I'm based in Portland, I would love to spend more time in LA, professionally and socially. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's been so great. I mean, like I think about what my life would have been like if I had stayed in San Antonio. And San Antonio is a wonderful place to be and a wonderful place to raise your family. Um, and the profession that I have chosen, I think that I definitely made the right move for myself, getting out and forcing myself to experience life in just different ways.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Actors Conservatory. Oh, by the way, amazing story. With what you just shared, with moving to so many different places in such a short amount of time. So I just wanted to say that is, yeah, because moving is certainly, it is. I mean, it certainly is not. It's not cheap. It can be really expensive, and the whole process can be really crazy. So I just gotta bring that up.
Yeah.
So yeah, moving towards the Actors Conservatory. Yeah, how is it like getting to be a part of that?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I was really fortunate that the person who runs the conservatory now, his name is Michael Mendelson, and I have been so lucky to find a mentor and a friend like Michael. Um, we we met a couple years ago. My wife actually introduced me to him. I forget who recommended him to her, but she started taking acting lessons with him. He does a scene study class, and she was like, you know, this guy's really good. Like, he went to UW years before we were there, but we have like a common vernacular and a common set of morals and values in life and art. And so we were just very copacetic. And so I I started taking the scene study class with him, and we worked really well together. I eventually stopped to pursue other things, and then he approached me to play Leontes in The Winter's Tale at Portland Shakespeare Project last summer. And at first I said no because my wife was pregnant with our second child, and we hadn't told anybody at the time. And so I just very politely declined and was like, you know, Michael, I have the best excuse to say no to you, even though it hurts. But like my child is due right around that time in July 2022. So thank you, but no. And he very calmly said, well, talk to your wife about it and call me back. But think about it because you're the only person I'm considering for this role. And I was like, you know, okay, Michael, like I'll talk to my wife, but like I know what she's gonna say. But you know, I love you, no hard feelings. Got off the phone with him, talked to my wife, and she claims that she said something else, but what she said was, "You idiot, call him back. Like you're doing this, and I'll just have the baby on an off night where when they're not having a show." And I was like, you can't know that. Like I'm not gonna miss the birth of my second child so that I can do a play. Like I'll never forgive myself if I'm doing a show while my wife's giving birth to our kid. Like I'm just that's not who I am. And we talked about it, and finally she was just like, just do it, just trust me. I said, okay. I called Michael back and I said, I'll do it. And so I prepared and we did the thing, and it went incredibly well. It was a huge opportunity for me. I mean, Leontes is a tremendous role. And we had we had shows Wednesday nights through Sunday matinees. We were at a point in the pregnancy, I say we, my wife was at a point in the pregnancy where they were going to consider a C-section. And so they said, well, we can schedule an induction where we will give you medicine that will begin labor. And then if that doesn't work, we need to have another conversation. So we said, okay, fine. So we scheduled the day for Sunday evening. Actually, we said Monday morning, the day after the show, period had ended. And they called us like Saturday night and they were like, well, we can do it Sunday evening if you prefer. And we were like, okay. So the first week after the show, we go into the hospital Sunday after a matinee, and the pregnancy happens, I mean, very quickly. Our first child took like 26 hours or something, and our second child came in like 8 hours. So she gave birth to our son very early in the morning, Monday morning, and we had all day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to kind of just spend the time together. And then I went back to work and kept playing Leontes. So she was right, honey. You're always right if you're listening. I love you. It was just one of those. It was just one of those really surreal things I'll never forget. She was just like, she supported me so much, doing this role that she knew would mean a lot to me, and it would help my career tremendously. And working with Michael was such a blessing. And I'm convinced that actually led to my next job. I got to work at Artist Rep in town, doing that. But your question was about the Actors Conservatory. So I totally just went on this like complete side rant. Michael heads the program at the conservatory, and he asked me to come in and teach classical text analysis, and it has been incredibly rewarding. I teach the first year conservatory students. There's 8 of them, and they're wonderful. They're really passionate, and they work really hard. They're very communicative about what they need, and it's just been really inspiring to go in and do something that I love, and to see it land in very different ways for all of them. But I think the best teachers learn from their students, and so that's how I always I set my intention for that before every class. Like, I'm here to learn too, and they will teach me what they need every moment if I'm listening. So it's been so rewarding, and I look forward to doing more teaching in the future, at the conservatory and wherever those opportunities may arise.
Yeah. I think you kind of might have answered a question I had about fatherhood, because I asked about the conservatory, and then it literally just segue. I was gonna ask, like, how's it like? I mean, just sharing your experience about, being a dad and then have to juggle, with this acting stuff. And it's just kind of like, you know, um, life can, life can kind of be, it's like this balancing act of, like, you got a job, but then you have to take care of the family. So because with me personally, you can do this and still be there for your wife and your 2 children. So it's kind of like, yeah, like with a lot of these responsibilities of being an adult, which is something that not a lot of people really think of when it comes to, like, actually getting to do this full time and then pursuing acting full time. So yeah, how do you balance all of that?
Dude, that's a great question. One day at a time. I'm
Pretty much. Yeah.
I'm really just so fortunate. Like, my life's not perfect, but I recognize my privilege when it presents itself, and I am so lucky to have a supportive wife and a supportive family that, like, just continues to push me and believe in me. And, like, we just have a tremendous support system, and, like, anybody trying to do that, it's just, nobody can do it alone. I have a wife who supports me, who stays at home with the kids, and I'm able to provide the income for the family, which isn't easy, but I cobble it together from different sources. And I have a brother. I'm in my brother-in-law's office in the Pearl downtown, and he runs a web development company. If you're interested in a website, or if anybody needs any digital needs and marketing, technology, or creative services, Solver Collective. I got to give them a plug because I'm using their space. We didn't work that out. I'm just saying, like, I love the family that I'm a part of. I love being able to do the things that I love and also feel supported in that. Yeah, I think that being a dad is like, they say it's a full-time job, but it's like it's 5 full-time jobs. Like, you're never off. Even when you're sick, you don't call in sick to parenthood. You know what I mean? And I think moms understand that even better, because there's just a different relationship, especially at this age. I have my daughter's going on 3 years old, my son's going on 1. And so they are very dependent on her right now. And I kind of get to be the fun parent when I finally come home. So I recognize it's a very different relationship, but I just am so grateful to them and all that they do for me. And so, yeah, I try to just constantly give back and recognize, even when things are tough, that I'm so lucky, because not everybody gets to do it very much. And I have been supporting my family. I've been making more money acting than I have my day job for the last 2 years, which is, I've been doing this a long time. It took me 10 years to get to that level, but like, here I am, and it's like, okay, what's next? So I'm really excited to kind of see what that next evolution is, not just for me, but for my family, because now I have somebody to share this journey with, and like, without them, it all kind of feels empty or hollow. So yeah, man. I mean, how do I do it? I don't know. I just do it. I just do it over and
Yeah.
over again. And part of, I forget who was saying this, but like, the hardest thing is just showing up sometimes, just showing up and doing the work. And if you do that over and over and over again in anything, you're bound to get better at it. And the competition will weed itself out, and less so parenthood, more so acting or some other, career that is, based in the longevity. I was talking to somebody about the odds of acting. Oh, I was a guest speaker at the Oregon Thespian State Festival, which is where all the high schoolers from all over the state convene in Salem at the convention center. And I was teaching a couple of workshops, and I was telling somebody, like, the odds are against you, but the longer you do this, the more you go on, the better your odds become. The competition will weed itself out. People will decide to move on to different things, and that's okay. Like, everybody has to make the decision for themselves, what's best for them and their families. So yeah, I'm just lucky that I have a family that allows me to do that and supports me in that.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you want to discuss, like any upcoming like content or projects that you're working on? Uh, and you can also share your social media or just anything that you want to close us out on.
Sure, man. Yeah, I mean, like, check me out on Instagram, Philip Ray Guevara. You can also check my website out, www.philiprayguevara.com. I keep all my reels on there. I try to upload the videos consistently. Like I said, I got a Pokemon ad that's going to be playing here any day now. I've been kind of bugging the producers to let me see that finished product. I also have an AutoNation commercial coming out soon. I just emailed the director on that one. But as far as stuff in the pipeline, it's mostly just continuing to make those connections, continuing to work on curriculum. I'm very passionate about talking to people about the business of acting. I also offer individual coaching sessions via Zoom. I do one-on-one acting lessons as well as business consultation for actors and performers. So that's something that has been kind of a side hustle for me, and I get a lot from it, because, like I said, I like teaching, and for me, it's as much about sharing my knowledge as it is honing my own craft of teaching people. So if you're interested in coaching or consultation, you can always hit me up on that website, or social media, wherever you can find me. And yeah, I'm moving into this year. Throughout this year, I'm focused on writing and getting my own stories made instead of waiting for other people to approach me with stories. So that's what I'm continuing to work on this year. Next year, I'm going to focus on producing those stories in whatever way I can. I'm going to start calling in favors, calling up buddies, and just say, who wants to work? Let's just make something cool together. So I hope I'll have more to share soon, but that's kind of what I have to look forward to.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun doing this, man. Thank
Thanks,
you for
man.
being
This was
such a
fun.
wonderful guest.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Anytime.
of course. Yeah, and you can definitely check out Philip's website and anything else that he's doing. And yeah, for this interview, it shall be up probably later this weekend on my YouTube channel, depending on how my schedule is, because it's always crazy. So, regardless, thank you so much for watching. And yeah, stay tuned next time at Station Square. This is Robert Jackson, and I'm signing out for the day. And as my good buddy Brad Storm, if I were to close this out on, punch every day in the face, pal. You rock, guys. Peace. Bye.